Kia ora. Welcome to Wednesday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect Aotearoa. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz. And today we lead with news the US is doubling its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium to 50% in a tantrum over Canadians asserting their independence. Wall Street reacted badly, dropping another 1% and taking the losses to 10% over the past 4 weeks. A drop in the market capitalisation of the S&P 500 of about $2.5 trillion. And that is just the start, of course, because there are thousands of other companies on a range of other indexes, like the Dow, which is down 1.4% today, and the Nasdaq, down 0.6% today. Bad public policy is expensive, and there will be loud echoes in KiwiSaver accounts. And financial markets are signalling a US recession. And apparently Warren Buffett expected a Trump recession and has adjusted his holdings for that. Meanwhile, the US Redbook Retail Index was 5.7% higher last week than the same week a year ago, easing from the 6.6% rate the prior week. January job openings in the US rose on strong demand in the retail sector. They rose by 232,000 to 7.74 million, up from a revised 7.51 million in December, and above the market expectations of 7.63 million. Quits rose too in January. January layoff levels in the government sector were particularly low, but this is expected to change over the next few months. And there is a still well-supported US Treasury 3-year bond auction earlier today, which ended with a median yield of 3.85%. But this was sharply lower than the prior equivalent event a month ago of 4.26%. In Japan, the January household spending survey released yesterday delivered a large shock, with spending falling the most in 1 month since 2021. That dragged their year-on-year gain down to just 0.8% from 2.7% in December. No one saw this coming, although it has to be said there have been other December-January shocks in the past, and all have followed by a recovery in February. All the same, perhaps Japanese households are suddenly turning fearful about what lies ahead, with reason this time. In China, there is massive confusion over its trade rail link to Europe, an alternative to sea freight. The Russians are seizing the cargoes as they enter their territory. This is no minor trade disruption. The Australian Consumer Sentiment Survey by Westpac Melbourne Institute reported a solid improvement in March and taking it to its highest level since May 2022. Meanwhile, the NAB Business Sentiment Survey for Australia reversed in February in their report released yesterday. They said business conditions rose marginally in February, with small lifts in both trading conditions and profitability. However, there was a notable fall in business confidence, which fell 6 points, largely offsetting the improvement seen in January. And the total value of housing in Australia owned by households reached 10.6 trillion Australian dollars as of December, up 4.4% from a year ago. That is a $448 billion rise in a year, but far less than the 8.1% rise in the year to December 2023, or a rise of 760 billion Australian dollars. If we included the dwelling stock owned by others, the rise in December was also up 4.4%, and that adds another $440 billion, taking the total value of Aussie housing stock to 11 trillion Australian dollars. Interestingly, all the 2024 rise happened in the first quarter of 2024. Total values were flat for the rest of the year, even after their new builds were added. According to a global air quality review in 2024, only 7 countries met the WHO air quality standards. That included New Zealand, Australia, Iceland and Estonia, plus 3 Caribbean islands. Globally, this is as bad as it's ever been. And now that the US has pulled funding for this monitoring, we'll only get results in future for first world countries that fund their own. The US funding for its own monitoring has been cancelled too. And finally, we should note that 56,000 Greenland voters are voting in their national MMP election today. Results will be known tomorrow. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now at 4.26% and up 3 basis points from yesterday at this time. And the price of gold will start today at just over $2,916 an ounce, up $17 from yesterday. Oil prices are holding unchanged at just on $66.50 a barrel in the US, while the international Brent price is now at $69.50 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is now at 57.1 US cents and down 10 basis points from yesterday. Against the Aussie, however, we're unchanged at 90.8 Australian cents. Against the euro, we're down 50 basis points at 52.3 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today at just over 66.3 and down 30 basis points from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $81,309 and recovering 3.4% from yesterday. Volatility over the past 24 hours has stayed high, also at plus or minus 3.4%. You can find links to the articles mentioned today in our show notes, and you can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.